Hey guys, welcome back. It's Hybrid Spectre. So if you guys remembered a video that I did several years ago, right when my channel was just getting started, I did a video on Assassin's Creed, and basically I brought up the discussion as to what happened to it. And that got a lot of views, especially when I was first starting out. I think that's kind of what got me just a little bit of traction at that time. Well, now I'm back again with Assassin's Creed Odyssey to kind of have another discussion as to where it stands and kind of what it holds for the future. This is completely unscripted. This is just kind of what I think about it. And I'm going to try to make my thoughts as coherent as possible so this video isn't 30 minutes long. So, the last video that I did about Assassin's Creed, that was around the time Assassin's Creed Syndicate was the main Assassin's Creed game. And from what we know at that time, Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate, that was probably a low point for Assassin's Creed. Unity was a complete bugfest. It didn't exactly have the greatest of releases. It did a lot of unorthodox things and really wasn't that great of a game. However, I've been currently on an Assassin's Creed binge and I'm going to try to play that whenever I can. Was very good, and it basically explained the potential relationship between the Assassins and the Templars and how those could be improved upon and if a truce could ever be met. And then we had Syndicate, which was pretty much a carbon copy of Unity. The parkour system was exactly the same. The stealth system was a little bit the same. The main difference was that it actually had a skill tree, something that Unity did not have. Well, no, Unity had a skill tree. It was just a little bit different. So Unity and Syndicate were the first games to bring in the skill tree system. And while that may not have been inherently bad, it was something that was very different for that franchise. It even brought in the gear having stats and all that, the microtransactions and everything, and which was a little controversial in itself. Then after Syndicate, Ubisoft took about a year off from Assassin's Creed, which was probably the best decision they could have ever made. Because then we got Assassin's Creed Origins, and that really redid the formula from what we know about Assassin's Creed. That was the first Assassin's Creed game that brought in RPG elements to the game, and Origins was amazing. The map was extremely huge, filled with stuff to do, the world was alive and breathing. Unity really pulled Assassin's Creed back from the brink. So Unity at this point in time is probably the best Assassin's Creed. And then about a year later we get Odyssey. Now Odyssey is where I'm a little conflicted, because here's the thing. I really don't consider Odyssey to be an Assassin's Creed game for a couple reasons. Reason one, this takes place roughly before Origins, if I'm not mistaken. This takes place in ancient Greece, right before Bayek's time, if I'm not mistaken. That means the Assassin Order hasn't been established. The Templar Order hasn't been established yet, but it exists in some form or another. So at this point, the Assassins simply do not exist in Odyssey. And that is mildly annoying. And let's see, what is it? I think I'm maybe about a third of the way through the game, really. And there's no hidden blade. Your stealth weapon is the spear of Leonidas, or Leonidas, however you want to pronounce it. And that's this thing here. There's no hidden blade. That is mildly irritating, because you can't, because what is the trademark thing of Assassin's Creed? It's the hidden blades, the wrist gauntlets. So that's another reason why I don't exactly consider Odyssey to be an Assassin's Creed game. It has a more expansive skill tree this time, which I don't have a problem with skill trees and all that. I'm actually for these, actually, but only when they're done right and only for certain games. Let's see. Another reason why I don't consider Odyssey to be an Assassin's Creed game, it doesn't really expand much upon anything in Assassin's Creed lore. Sure, you see the first civilization constructs and the ruins and all that, but aside from that and the modern day story outside of the Animus simulation, there is nothing that I've seen yet that directly links Assassin's Creed Odyssey to actual Assassin's Creed lore. And that is where I become a little frustrated with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Don't get me wrong, the game is fun. It introduced a lot of new things into Assassin's Creed, but the problem with that is that it alienates itself so far from what the franchise has been known for that it's very difficult to even consider this a serious Assassin's Creed game. Because as far as we know, there's really no direct link between this and Assassin's Creed lore. But like I said, I'm about a third of the way through the game, yet that may change. I may make another video on that. But case in point, there's really not anything directly linking Odyssey to the actual story of Assassin's Creed, aside from maybe the first civilization, ruins and all that, and the artifacts and everything. Other than that, that's kind of the only staple that really makes this that really keeps this Assassin's Creed, is the first civilization constructs and everything. So that begs the question, why are we straying so far from what Assassin's Creed has been known for? Because Assassin's Creed has mainly been known about assassins versus the Templars and all that kind of thing. And that's fine. That's okay. That's what you're supposed to do. But I remember in an interview some years ago, I think after Brotherhood was released, this was years ago, where I think like the lead developer, or the producer of Assassin's Creed in the company Ubisoft, he said that this franchise has every intention to end. Well, he said something loosely around that. They said they plan for the franchise to end. And he even said that we want to make it to ancient Egypt before we consider ending the franchise. We made it to ancient Egypt, finally. We got to see how the Assassin Brotherhood got started. Then we get Odyssey, which is a complete far cry, pun intended, from everything we've known about Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Odyssey basically takes everything that we've ever known about Assassin's Creed, throws it out the window, doesn't matter. And that's mildly frustrating, because if you're supposed to continue, if you're going to make a sequel to a game, you gotta have it. There's got to be some sort of consistency. At least with all the other Assassin's Creed games, no matter how many times they change the formula, at its very core, it was always Assassin's Creed. No matter how much they tweak the movement system, no matter how much they change the combat system, no matter how many times they change the character, their personalities, their methods of doing things and everything, it was always Assassin's Creed. Take for example Black Flag. Edward Kenway. He was a real stray from the path at the time. Honestly, I was like when they were doing Pirates. Edward Kenway was a character that had no previous attachments to Assassin's Creed, but he eventually became one. He's actually one of my favorite characters, mainly from the lesson that you can learn from him. But that's for a different video. But case in point, no matter how many times they changed the characters in Assassin's Creed, no matter how many changed the formula, everything, it was always Assassin's Creed at heart, because there was always the plot. There was always the Assassins versus the Templars. There was always the thing that kept it as Assassin's Creed. Come Odyssey, none of that matters anymore. Which I find very frustrating, because the only thing that really makes it Assassin's Creed is the modern day story and the first civilization, ruins and artifacts and everything. So it's like, so what makes this an Assassin's Creed game? Not very much, in all honesty, and it's kind of hard to consider this a very serious Assassin's Creed game because of how much of a far cry it is. Now, if Odyssey was something else entirely, I would be completely fine with that, because it's not attached to a very well-renowned franchise. Example, what if Odyssey was completely detached from Assassin's Creed altogether? Remove the modern day story, the first civilization artifacts and everything. Just make it an ancient Greece mythology thing. that would completely change the perception of how we would view this. Quite frankly, if this was not an Assassin's Creed game, I would probably like it more. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but I'd probably like it more if it wasn't Assassin's Creed, because the perception of it is completely changed. Because it's an Assassin's Creed game, I have to take it as an Assassin's Creed game, but it's hard to do that when it doesn't do anything that Assassin's Creed is known for. That's why I find it so hard to consider this an Assassin's Creed game, because this has more in common with the Witcher franchise than it does the Assassin's Creed franchise. The main reason being, because if you look at your abilities here, the Witcher has skill trees and all that. But what's interesting is that in The Witcher, you could only have basically mostly your ability. You had active abilities and you had passive abilities in The Witcher, but you would have to select them. But you have to select them in order to use them. That's kind of what Assassin's Creed Odyssey is doing right here. They're doing a little bit of a Witcher thing. But your passives are applied automatically. Your active abilities, you actually need to select and bind to keys and all that. So the thing, and also not to mention the dialogue options. Let's see. There's a quest down here. Let me run down here, jump down here, and show this as an example. Give it a second, it'll pull up here.
Here, priestess. Anything I can help you with?
There have been so many people coming to the
Now,
temple
if you
since
look at these
today.
dialogues,
We have
where
more
have you
priests to the gods than
seen
we
dialogue in gameplay like this
Don't seem
before?
happy about that.
You've seen this in Mass Effect and in the Witcher franchise. That's where you've seen dialogue like this.
And I need to get
A lot of
midnight today.
Assassin's Creed has
But the
never
soldiers
done
are looking for
dialogue
my head
like
because
this
of my
before.
impiety.
I'm supposed to deliver it?
Yes,
And
she
you
must
also
receive
have
it
choices
soon.
for your dialogue right here. See, I can choose to accept this quest, or I can choose to say no. Of course, I'm going to say no right
Don't have
now.
time for this right now.
See?
Reconsider.
See, and that's it. You can have that's dialogue option that you have that's more in common with The Witcher. And considering how much your choices matter in a game like this has more in line with the Witcher franchise than it does Assassin's Creed, because it borrows so heavily from the Witcher. Honestly, if I didn't know any better, I'd consider this a Witcher ripoff. I'm just being honest here, but this is why it's hard to consider Odyssey a very serious Assassin's Creed game, because it borrows so much from the Witcher franchise, and it does pretty much next to nothing from what Assassin's Creed is known for. Now, you can make the argument you have more stealth options available to you. While that may be true, that still doesn't change the fact that so much that makes it Assassin's Creed is completely left behind in favor of a more heavily RPG aspect. And I don't have a problem with RPG aspects, but the problem is that this is Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed isn't known for this kind of thing. And I mean, I know I may sound a little bit picky or a little bit like a purist here, but I'm just being a little bit critical of a very well-known franchise that's been going for a long time now. And quite frankly, I really wouldn't have a problem with Assassin's Creed ending after Odyssey. Now, we had that leak for Assassin's Creed Ragnarok, which turned out to be fake. However, I will say there are a couple storylines that I would like to see before I say I just want this franchise to end. I want to see Vikings, and I want to see a modern day story. I would love to see the modern day story explored more in Assassin's Creed. I'd like to see more about the Assassins and the Templars. Hell, I wouldn't even mind stepping back into the shoes of a Templar, because Rogue was a very underrated Assassin's Creed game. Rogue was really good. And it also really set the tone up for Unity very well. So I'd have to say I really wouldn't mind stepping back into the shoes of a Templar, or maybe start a spin-off franchise where you see the Templars' perspective instead of the Assassins. Now that would be cool. I would love to see this franchise from the perspective of a Templar. That would be cool. So just throwing out ideas here, and this is a little bit of a brief discussion video for like the future of Assassin's Creed. And my feelings about Odyssey are rather ambivalent, but mostly positive. I like it. I just wish it stuck to the more traditional things of Assassin's Creed and just didn't throw out so much of what made it so good all these years. So that's my little spiel for right now. So let's see, more lore videos to come soon. If you guys want any more discussion videos, feel free to put those down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And I still plan to do some more podcasts with my buddy Boar. Work's just been crazy and all that. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next one.